Hello everyone. Wishing you all a very good morning. How are you? Good morning, Swati. Satvika, good morning. Mahini, good morning. How are you, beta? I'm fine, Satvika. I hope you are fine too. Tejasvi, good morning. I hope everyone is feeling great. Good. Okay. I think in the last class, good morning, Hannah. I think in the last class we were dealing with something known as constraints. Yes or no? We were dealing with something known as constraints. Good morning, Goli. Do you remember constraints? Okay, teacher, let us start today's class. We are dealing with constraints here. Now, let us try to understand first, what do you mean by a constraint? Do you have any idea what this constraint means? Yes, Satvika, tomorrow is a test and the syllabus is motion in two dimension. From the next class, Newton's law will come. So your test is still on motion in two dimension. I tell you, test is always some behind. I always keep test a little bit behind of what I am teaching so that it gives you a constant reminder of what we have already done. So it's basically a sort of a revision. If I take test of what I have told you today, that will not help you. That's my way of thinking it. Because what I have told you today, you will definitely remember it. So that's why tests are always a bit behind for my schedule. I'll always keep a test a bit behind. Okay, constraint relation is what I am thinking of. As I told you in physics, physics is pretty simple. Why I call physics so simple? Because whatever we talk in physics, it has some meaning. And normally, whatever it means, we try to put it in the name itself. Most of the time, we'll always name it in such a way that the meaning is very clear from the name itself. If you remember this letter L that I used, where did I use this L for? Do you remember from the first chapter, second chapter? Where did I use this L for? Or for that matter, delta R. Where and for what? L was used for, Vahini. L was used for distance, because it tells us, it reminds us that distance is the length of path. Delta R was used for displacement, so that we remember it is not change in displacement, beta, it is change in position vector. Delta means change, R is position, arrow is vector. So I always try to use in physics terms or symbols from which the entire meaning becomes clear and it becomes easier for us to understand it. Similarly, when we are trying to study constraint relation, do you know what is the meaning of the term constraint in English? What does this term constraint mean in English? Something is constrained. I have constrained you to do something. You have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning. When you are in a class, you are supposed to stay quiet, pay attention. You are constrained to do something. Constraint in English means restriction, yes, limitation or restriction. You are constrained to do something. That means you are limited or restricted to do something. That is what constraint means. Now in physics, these constraints play a very important role. When you constrain something, it just is not free. It is not free. It has to act, or in this case of physics that we are going to discuss, it has to move in a certain way because it is constrained. Now, what are the type of constraints that we'll study? There are two basic types of constraint that we are going to study. Number one is plane constraint, or it is also known as wedge constraint. Now, what is this plane constraint or wedge constraint? Anyone understand this? Now, remember, sometimes we know something, we have been doing something for a while, but when you talk about the technical aspect of it or the technical name for it, you might not be very aware of its technical name. For example, if you ask my kid who is 5-6 years old, bring water, he'll get me a glass of water. But if I tell him, bring me H2O, he will not understand it because he does not know H2O means water. But now we know that H2O means water. So if I even tell you, bring H2O, you will get me a glass of water. Sometimes the things that we are doing, we may not know their technical names. Now, what is this plane constraint or wedge constraint? Have we done this before? Now, let me try to give you an example. No, I am not able to draw a straight line. Okay. This is a ground or a surface of a table or surface of your laptop, anything. And I have put a body of mass M on this. Now, as I told you, unless otherwise stated, this is not going to move up and down. If I've kept it on a surface, if it cannot fly, it can only move along the surface. Yes or no? It is kept on a surface or a plane. It is kept on a surface or a plane, and it is now confined to move on this surface. For example, this is my mouse pad. It does not look like a mouse pad, but I use it as a mouse pad, and this is my mouse. See, when I keep this mouse on this mouse pad, it is constrained to move only on this pad. I can obviously lift it, but yeah, it cannot fly. If it cannot fly, it is constrained to move on this surface, the plane. This type of constraint or this type of restriction, it cannot move up and down now unless and until it starts to fly, is known as a plane constraint or a wedge constraint. So the next question that I'm going to ask, have we done this type of question where we have used this, that since it is kept on a plane or a surface, it cannot move up and down, it can only move along the surface. In our case, since we are talking about 2-dimension, it can only move here like this, or it can move here like this. Yes or no? Have we done this before in the questions that we have done? So many questions we have attempted. Have we used this principle that since it is kept on a surface, it can either move like this or like this? It can also move in the other direction, but we don't have that other direction on the question. Have we done this or not? Is everyone there? There are some numbers which I don't know. Shruti, Sai Sarda, Praveen, Navya, Veronica, are you all awake? Yashwant, Surendra, Siddharth, Satvika, please raise your hands and tell me that you understand this. Ready? Padmakant, Ravi, Dinesh, Shashank, Triveni, Kevin, Karthik, K. Shashank, Charita, Aishwarya. We have used this, right? We have used this many times in the question that we have done, that if something is kept on a plane, it can only move along the plane. This is nothing but a plane constraint. We have done it. Now you probably know its name, that it is known as a plane constraint. We have also used this here in this type of a question where something, a body of mass M, is kept on an inclined surface. The body of mass m is kept on an inclined surface. We have also used this plane constraint or wedge constraint or surface constraint here. We have told, or we have done, that either it can move like this or it can move like this, because it is restricted by this plane. It cannot move like this. It cannot just go through the plane. It has to move along the plane. This is nothing but a plane constraint or a wedge constraint or a surface constraint. You can call it by different names. If you understand the concept, well, have we used these two things? Yes, we have used them many times. Many questions we have solved using this plane constraint. I did not use the word plane constraint because it was not required at that point in time. As I told you, and I keep on telling you, that I always tell you everything based on a principle which I call it as need to know basis. Need to know basis. I'll only tell you what? I'll only tell you that point, that part that you need to know. I'll not tell you anything apart from that, because I want you to be studying point wise. Sharp study. We call it sharp hard work. I call it sharp hard work or intelligent hard work. You don't have to do 10,000 things to clear JEE. No. Even if you do 10 things, but you know which 10 things to do and how to do them, you can clear. Don't have to solve 10,000 questions. No, I will not give you 10,000 questions to solve. People who give 10,000 questions to solve, I know you will not be able to do 10,000 questions. I can give you 10,000 questions in Newton laws of motion. You'll not be able to do it. What's the point? The point is, we must know what are the questions or what are the things that we must know. Because even if I'm doing 25 or 30 good questions which cover everything, you should be able to crack the exam. Need to know basis. We have done this, but I did not tell you that. Now let me now make it somewhat difficult, and let me see if you can understand how this plane or wedge constraint work. Let us first say example, I have this block, a triangular block which can move. Then I put on this block, I put a rod like this. We'll be solving this question. We'll be solving this question. We are just doing one part of this question, and I've put this rod in between rails. In between rails. Basically, I want you to understand how this plane constraint or wedge constraint or surface constraint works. Now, simple question. Physics is simple. It's logical. It's not like chemistry that you have 10,000 exceptions. There are more exceptions than there are rules. If I now move this block here, this block can only move rightward or leftward because it is subjected to something known as plane constraint, because it is kept on ground. It can move like this. It can move like this. But right now, I'm not thinking about this. I am thinking about this. So if I move it here like this, the question is, how does the rod move? How does the rod move? In which direction does the rod move? If I move it here, how does the rod move? Anyone? You can tell me this. Simple. Look at the sketch. See, imagine. No motion is not possible, Hanak. It has to move. No motion is not possible. No motion is not possible. If I keep a rod like this and I move it and I move this thing, it has to move. And how will it move? It will just move vertically downwards because it is not allowed to move like this. Why it is not allowed to move like this? Because I have kept these rails. So this is also a type of plane constraint or wedge constraint. This wedge can only move like this because of ground. So ground is the constraint here. This rod can only move like this because I have kept it in between the rails. So rail is also a type of wedge constraint. Do we understand this, or it has gone above our heads? Please raise your hand so that you understand that all these things that I'm telling you are just part of plane constraint or wedge constraint. I have lowered all your hands, so you have to raise them again. Simple things. You will say, sir, this is very simple. Why you have to call it by this name, plane constraint, wedge constraint? But I can't do it. This is how it is called. Only 6 people have understood this. Not good. There's so many numbers here. Swati, Siddharth, Satvika, Beta Veraju, Padmakant, Dinesh, Pavan Kalyan, Triveni, Kevin, Kartik, Ankati, Shashank, Santosh, Charita, Aishwarya, Rahul. Where are you, beta, everyone? Great. Now let me reverse the question. Now let me ask you, if I move this block here in the black direction, I'm not going to move it like this because that question is not going to come. If I move the block in the black direction is towards left. How does this rod move now? Yes, Hannah, it has to move vertically upwards. Again, it moves vertically upwards because of the constraints that I've put on this. It is a wedge constraint or a plane constraint or a surface constraint. Do you all understand this? One more question for all of you then. We'll be solving these questions, don't worry. How does they move? How do they move? You will find them very exciting, but if you must understand them first. If you understand them first, then only you would be able to solve them. Else the entire thing will go waste. Now I put the rod like this. I again put the rails, but now I put the rails like this. Okay, I must make it close. Remember, you can see a gap between the rod and the rails, but you have to imagine that there is very little gap or there is almost no gap. I can't make them so close, you will not be able to see them. Now again, I ask this question, this wedge, it is kept on ground. It can only move in a particular way. It cannot move like this. The wedge cannot move like this. The triangular thing is known as a wedge. It is moving like this. How does the rod move now? How does the rod move now? In this case, I've changed something. How does the rod move now? Now it moves like this. Previously it was moving like this. Now it moves like this. So you can understand the difference that this rails create. Is because of these rails that it is moving in this fashion. Do we understand this? It has gone above our heads. Please let me know. If I now move it like this along the black direction, it cannot go anywhere. It has to go up because it cannot move because I have restricted its motion. So this is nothing but what I call or what we call or what physics calls them plane constraint or wedge constraint or surface constraint. And as you can see, we have already done them. We have already done them. Probably the last part, the last two diagrams we have not done, but don't worry, we'll be doing them. Can I have some raised hand that we understand what we are doing here? Only 6 people have understood this. Shall I call the names? Starting from some roll numbers, starting with 3, Sri Sarda, Praveen, Sashank, Sanjay, Veronica, Yashwant, Shruti, Ravi, Padmakant, Dinesh, Pavan, Triveni, Kevin, Kartik, Ankati, Sashank, Charita, Aishwarya, Vera, Jubeta, Rahul. Okay, great. Now, there is another type of constraint. There is another type of constraint which is known as number 2 string constraint. Number 2 is known as string constraint. Now, as the name suggests, it would have something to do with what? It will have something to do with strings. And since we talk about strings, you already have done some things about strings. Now, what has this string constraint got to do with strings? Now, let us take an example of this. We call it, what is the name of this thing? This, I gave it a name, right? It has a name, right? What name it has? It is known as the Atwood's machine. I hope you remember this name, Atwood's machine, designed by Atwood. Atwood's machine. Why do I make it Teda? Because keep this thing Teda. That's why everything gets Teda. Okay, I hope you understand it. My thing was tilted. Okay, now see, these two blocks are attached to each other by strings. Now, if I move this block down, what happens to the block number one? What happens to block number one? If I move block, if the block number two moves down, what happens to block number one? It moves upwards. Is it something new that we have understood in this class with physics? No, this is just common sense. And common sense is physics, and that is why I find physics interesting, because it is simply common sense. If block two goes down, block one has to go up. Why it has to happen that way? Because they're not free to move. They're not free to move. They're attached to each other by strings. And since they are not free to move and they are attached to each other by strings, this constraint is known as the string constraint. Restriction in motion because of two or more bodies attached to each other by strings. Now, if this block moves by distance x, this block will move up by distance x, because the string cannot get elongated, it cannot get loose, it always remains tight. If this block moves with a velocity v downwards, this block will move upwards with velocity v. If this block moves downward with an acceleration a, this block will move upwards with an acceleration a. Yes or no? Do we know this or not? Or is it very difficult to understand? If you know this, congratulations, you know string constraint. We know string constraint. Only 8 people know string constraint. That is not good. 9. The number is rising. I need more participation, beta. And if you have missed this class, you would have missed a lot of things I have already. Now, look at this one. Two blocks attached to each other by nothing, by strings and pulleys. If this block moves down, what happens to block number one? What happens to block number one? If block number two moves down, what happens to block number one? Viney says nothing. No, Viney. It cannot happen that nothing happens. Block number one has to move up. Yes or no? Yes, Teja. Block number one has to move up. There is no way. There is no way that it can do anything else. It has to move up. It has to move up. Yes, Viney? Are you clear? Now, they are not attached by the same string. They are attached by different strings. Now, remember what we did in the last class. So, if I say that this block moves down by x2, will block 1 also move up by x2? No, it will not move up by x2 because they are not attached to the same string. It will move up by something x1, x2 by 2. We'll come to that x2 by 2. Okay, if it moves up with a velocity v2, it will. If it moves down with a velocity v2, this will move up with velocity v2. No, it will not move up with velocity v2. It will move up with velocity v1. Remember that, because they are not attached by the same string. If it moves down with an acceleration a2, this will move up with an acceleration a1. But the problem here is, or the good thing here is, even though they move down by different velocities, different displacement, and different accelerations, they are attached not directly to each other, but they are attached indirectly by a combination of strings. And hence, this x1 will have a relation between x2. x1 and x2 will be related to each other. Similarly, v1 and v2 will be related to each other. a1 and a2 will be related to each other. It is same as saying what? It is same as saying here, in this case, please remember my thing very carefully. If this moves with a displacement x1, this will move with the displacement x2. This x2, oops, I marked the wrong one. If this moves with the displacement x1, this will come down with a displacement x2. This x2 and x1 will be related to each other. If it moves here with a velocity v1, this will move down with a velocity v2. This v1 and v2 will also be related to each other. That relation we will have to find out using common sense. Look at here. If this moves towards left, x1, this will move upwards with x2. This x1 and x2 will be related to each other. Is everyone getting me? Is everyone getting me here? Can I have some raised hand that we understand this, sir? Sir, we are trying to understand string constraints and wedge constraints and plane constraints. Body are restricted, but they are in contact. In plane constraint, they are in contact. In strings, they are not attached to each other by the same strings. They are attached to each other by different strings. But their displacements, their velocities, and their accelerations will be related to each other because they are not free to move. They are attached to each other by strings. And this constraint is known as string constraint. And we will find out how x1 and x2 are related. Someone gave me an answer for relation between x1 and x2. Who was that? Santosh gave me the answer that x1 will be x2 by 2. What makes you feel that, Santosh? Can you unmute yourself and tell me what makes you feel that x1 is x2 by 2? Tell me, Santosh. You can unmute yourself so that every one of us can hear you. Santosh, you there? Can you unmute yourself, beta? You told me that x1 is x2 by 2. What makes you feel so? What makes you feel so? No, not a problem. I can hear you. Try. Try it. What makes you feel so that x1 is x2 by 2, Santosh? Unmute yourself, tell me. I think he can't unmute. Goli, do you want to say anything? You raise hands. Santosh can't unmute, but he is giving me the answer in message. He's saying tension in the string. Yes, we'll find the relation between x1 and x2 or v1 and v2 or a1 and e2 using, you said it correctly, tension in the string. Yes, we'll do that. But before going on to that, which we'll be doing in today's class, let me do one more thing. And we call it the mixed constraint, the third one, the mixed constraint. Now, whatever I'm telling you, you will not find in any of the books, not even in my notes, even though I have prepared them, rectified them, because if I give you everything in notes, you will not come to the class. And nothing can be a better teacher than a class, whether it's my class or in any class. A mixed constraint. Now, what is a mixed constraint now? Instead of saying anything, it's always better Since we are in physics and not chemistry, chemistry you cannot see. Physics you can see. I put a system like this. I put a system like this. Now this is, I call a mixed constraint. Why I call as a mixed constraint? Because there are two constraints working here. Everyone knows that if this block moves down, this block can only move down. There is no other way that the system can move. This block moves down. What happens to block number A? Block number 2? What happens to block number 2? You will say, sir, it is simple. We have done so many questions. This block number 2 will move towards right. Yes, Kohli, it will move towards right. If I also ask you that, if this moves down with X, this will move here with X. This will, if this move down with velocity V, this will move here with velocity V. If this moves down with an acceleration A, this will move here with an acceleration A. Simple. Where do I see constraint? And why do I see a mixed constraint here? I'll give you a minute. A minute. Tell me what constraint you see. Everyone will think for a minute and let me know. Thinking time over. Anyone? Why do I call it mixed constraint? What do you mean by mixed constraint? Yes, Hannah, that is correct. Two constraints are present here. Two types of constraint. We have done this question without doing this constraint, and still there were two constraints present. And as Hannah says, there are two constraints. Vahini is also saying the same thing. One is a string. So they are attached to each other by strings. In fact, same string. But here there is also a ground or a plane which is restricting the motion of this block. Motion of block number 2 is restricted by ground. So we have plane constraint or wedge constraint coming into the picture. 1 and 2 are also attached by strings. And that is why we have X moving down, X moving here, V moving down, V moving here. That is what I call as mixed constraint. I hope all of you have understood this. Please raise your hands if you have understood the basic concept of a plane constraint, the basic concept of a string constraint, and why and how we can have everything coming together, and we'll call it as a mixed constraint. Only 7 people seem to have understood it. Not good. Roll number starting from 3, then we have Sai Sarda, then we have Praveen, Sashank, then we have Sanjay, Jashwant, Suren, Siddharth, Satvika, Jashwant, Reddy, Padmakan, Dinesh, Praveen, Kevin, Karthik, Sashank, Charita, Tejasvi, Rahul, Surendra. Are we there, everyone? Are we there, everyone? Okay. Now, the first thing that we are going to do, that we'll start is, we will start with the string constraint. That is the first thing that we'll start with, because most of the question that we will encounter, majority of questions will be based on string constraint. So we'll start with string constraint. Now in this string constraint, we can also We will also encounter questions where we have mixed constraint. So we have some plain constraint also coming, very simple plain constraint, but in most of the cases it will be purely a string constraint. Now, how do you solve this problem of string constraint? Santosh gave me the idea that this string constraint will be solved by the concept of tensions. Now that concept is not known as the concept of tension. That concept is known as virtual work principle. Now again you will say, sir, such a heavy term, virtual work. You don't know what is work, you are talking about virtual work. Virtual means it is not real work. Let us first think about work. Now this work, power, energy, this is your next chapter coming after Newton's law. So we'll be discussing this work, power, energy in great detail in the next chapter, which is going to be a more fun chapter than this one, because this is relatively tougher than work, power, and energy. But you have to do it because this is how the course is designed. Work. Work is a scalar quantity. Everyone knows this, yes or no? How do you find out work done by a force? Now, work done by a force in simple terms, is F is a vector dot delta R. Now, since we know all the symbols, we should be able to understand what is work done. What does F stand for? F stands for force and delta R stands for displacement. Remember, work done is a scalar quantity. But when we talk about force is a vector. Displacement, if you talk about displacement is also a vector. Force and displacement both are vectors. Work is a scalar. Now here we have got some magic happening. Two vectors. As I told you, vectors are vectors, they are different. Scalars are scalars, they are totally different. Vectors cannot be compared to scalars. They are like, what do I say, BJP and Congress. They are different. India and Pakistan, they are different. But there is a way that we can convert vectors into scalars. More importantly, 2 or 3 vectors into scalars. And that magic is done by a very small thing that you might have missed in the entire formula. What is the smallest thing that I've missed in this entire formula? I have marked work, I have marked F, I have marked displacement. There's a very small thing that I have not marked, and that does the job here of converting work and displacement, no, force and displacement into work. And what is the small thing that I have not marked, which is doing this entire magic of converting work, of converting force and displacement into work? Force and displacement are vectors, and Teja has pointed out this gola, this gola, chota sa gola, point, dot. This dot does the trick. This dot is known as the dot product. Wow, new term. This dot is known as the dot product of two vectors. Dot product of two vectors. Now Look at the result. Two vectors, you dot them, you get a scalar. So the dot product is also known as scalar product. Scalar product of two vectors. Now, if I go back to the chapter on vectors, we did addition of vectors, how to add vectors. We also did subtraction of vectors. If you have to subtract vectors, you add the negative of the vector, you will subtract them. But you never ask, sir, what about multiplication of vectors? You never did multiplication. Multiplication of vectors. How do you multiply vectors? There are two ways of multiplying vectors. And again, I am again using that same term that I used today twice, need to know basis. Do you understand the meaning of the term need to know basis? I'll only tell you what you need to know. I will not tell you anything more. I will not tell you anything less. Need to know basis. In vectors, we did not need to know dot product and cross product because we will forget when we come to use them. That's why we did not do them. Dot product. Now, what is the dot product of two vectors? We'll only use that part which we need right now. Else we will covering this dot product in between your 11th and 12th. And that time I will be doing this. Between your 11th and 12th, when you are done with your 11th and before starting your 12th, we'll be doing dot product in great detail. Right now, we'll only do need to know basis. What is the dot product of two vectors? Now let us go back to vectors. For a brief while, let us go back to vectors. There are two vectors, vector A and vector B. The angle between these two vectors is theta. The angle between these two vectors is theta. Now, if I write A dot B, A dot B gives me a number. It gives me a scalar. And the value of this A dot B is magnitude of A multiplied by magnitude of B multiplied by cos of theta. Now, this product is known as the dot product. Why it is known as dot product? It is known as dot product because it is denoted by dot. It's denoted by dot. Therefore, it is dot product. Physics is simple. This is not physics. This is maths and physics combined. It is known as dot product because it is represented by dot. It is known as scalar product because the final answer is a scalar. Are you getting my point? A dot B, if you do the dot product of two vectors, you will get a number. And what is the value of that number? Magnitude of A, which is a number, multiplied by magnitude of B, which is a number, multiplied by cos theta, which is a number. Three numbers multiplied, it's a number. A dot B is a number, and therefore this product is known as dot product or scalar product. Dot because it is represented by dot, scalar because the answer is a number. Can I have some raise hand that you understand this? The concept of multiplication of two vectors using dot. Only 6 people have understood this, not good. Only 8 people have understood this, not good. Sai Sada, Praveen, Sashank, Sanjay, Navya, Veronica, where are you, beta? Some roll numbers starting with 3000. Surendra, Aishwarya, Satvika, Siddharth, Padmakan, Dinesh, Pavan Kalyan, Kartik, Ankati, Shashank, Tejasvi. Are we all there, beta? Okay, this is a number. Now let us first do one question so that we understand that this is a number. This is dot product. So let me give you a question first. Question. Two vectors of magnitude 2 and 5 units are inclined means angle, inclined at an angle of 30 degrees find A dot B. If I call one vector as A vector, if I call the other vector as B vector, what is A dot B equal to? Can I have your answers, please? Oh, Teja is so quick. He has given me the answer. 5√3. That is correct, Teja. Every one of us, including me, who works on a Pentium Generation X processor, is not as fast as you. Let us give everyone time to understand the question. Teja has worked very hard, and I'm very impressed with his dedication. Well done, beta. Keep it up. And I want all of us to take inspiration from Teja. Life may give us a lot of hardships. Life is all about new challenges every day. The one person who faces those challenges, and you may not always win. No, winning is not important. Facing the challenge is important. Face the challenge one day or the other, you will win it. Well done, beta. 5√3, everyone is coming. Hanak is also there. Hanak, I hope you are now confident and you can answer anyone that you are going to clear JEE. I'll give you a very good example today, since I remember about JEE. Okay, so it is very simple. Let me first finish the question, then I'll start with my philosophical lecture. A dot B is nothing but magnitude of A. Let me write the formula first so that I see I got a small memory. I forget these formulas, so just let me write it. A into B into cos theta. Magnitude of A is 2, magnitude of B is 5. Cos theta is cos of 30. Cos of 30 is √3/2. So the final answer is 5√3. And that is the answer I'm looking for. Remember, A and B were vectors, but their dot product comes out as a scalar, as a number. Do we understand this? Can I have some raise hand that we understand this? Only 5 people have understood this? No, not good. Okay, meanwhile, I'll tell you a story that I, not a story, it's a small incident. There is a junior of mine, quite junior to me. He is from IIT Madras, and his name is Taran. He is my connection on LinkedIn, and he owns a app or a software company called as Melvano. Now, this Melvano is a app for students, and he's giving it all for free. I don't know, that's his workspace. He shared a very good incident that he used to do, so I'll just quote him. And he graduated from IIT Madras, I think in the year 2013, 14. Okay, Goli knows Melvano. Melvano, I'm talking about the honor, Taran. Okay, I'm talking about the owner of that company. Okay, so he's a friend of mine, junior of mine. So what I was saying, so I got, I mean, he sent me a message on the day where JEE Mains ka result, was coming up. So he gave me a message, he sent me a message, and the message was very simple that, while he was studying for JEE, while he started studying for JEE, he always used to write his name Taran Singh, and he used to write BTech IIT Kanpur. Kanpur was a very good IIT in our times. He's not from my time. He's like 4 or 5 years junior to me. So he used to write BTech IIT Kanpur, BTech IIT Kanpur, BTech IIT Kanpur below his name always. And see, 2 years of preparation, and not Kanpur, he got Madras. Maybe Madras was not in the highest. I don't know his rank. I don't know his rank. Maybe he opted for Madras instead for Kanpur. My dream IIT was IIT Mumbai or IIT Bombay or IIT Powai. I could not make that cut. I regret it. But whenever any of my student goes and studies in an IIT, I always feel that some part of me is studying there, and I feel very proud of it. And I hope that all of you get into IITs or NITs or the college of your wish and your desire. Why I was telling you this? Yes, we must keep our inspiration high, keep our spirits high, work towards our goal. Someday or the other day, even if we are facing all sorts of hardships, we will succeed. We will succeed. No one can stop us from succeeding. That was the point. Now let us quickly quickly go and write some important points about points about this. Yeah, talking about Melvano, he asked me to take his classes sometimes, but I don't have time. I can't take those classes that he's offering me. I'm sorry. I told him sorry. I can't do that. Anyways, what are the important points that you must remember about what are the important points that you must remember about dot product? Point number one, and point number one is always the definition. A dot B. What is A dot B? Magnitude of A multiplied by magnitude of B multiplied by cos theta. Point number one. Point number two, the result is always a scalar or a number. Point number two. Point number three, it can be positive, number can be positive, it can be negative, or it can be zero. What makes it positive? What makes it negative? What makes it zero? See, magnitude is always positive, it can never be negative. Magnitude can always be positive, it can never be negative. Yes, Hannah, the direction makes it positive, negative, or zero. Point number four, when it is going to be positive, see the vector A is here, vector B is here, or vector B is here, or it is anywhere in the first and the fourth quadrant. It is anywhere in the first and the fourth quadrant, or I can say this theta, or theta is acute. Is everyone following me? Please raise your hand. If theta is acute, this entire thing becomes positive. Yes or no? Please raise your hands and tell me yes, sir. Clear, sir. No doubt, sir. Only 9 people have understood this. No. Can't be. Cos theta is positive in the first and the fourth quadrant. Add sugar to coffee. I remember this. Someone told me something else. All sugar, teaspoon, something. All silver, teaspoon, something. But I don't remember it. The only thing I remember is add sugar to coffee. In first quadrant, all silver teacups. Yes, Goli remembers it. Teja remembers this. See, I have a small memory. I can't remember it. I only remember add sugar to coffee. My life has, I have somehow propelled my life with add sugar to coffee because I don't like coffee. I like tea. Where was I? I forget where I was. Okay. When I get into this mode, I forget where I was. I should not forget where I was. Okay, so I was on point number 4. Let us move on to point number 5. When it is going to be negative, tell me everyone. When will this be going to be negative? 5. I just keep the direction of A fixed so that I don't create trouble there. If I have B here, in the third quadrant, vector B, or I have B here, the second quadrant or the third quadrant. Or basically what I want to say here is theta is obtuse, but not 180. Even in 180 it is 0. Even in 180 it is negative. So if it lies in the second quadrant or the third quadrant, or theta is obtuse angle, the dot product becomes negative. In fact, if it is exactly opposite, it becomes minus A into B. Minus of A into B, because cos of 180 is minus 1. Do we understand this? Can I have raise hand? Remember this. If it is 0, I'll just write it, don't worry. I'll write it, don't worry. If theta is obtuse, it is negative. If theta is obtuse, it is negative. Then the next one would be, if my vector A is here, I keep the direction of vector A fixed. Vector B is like this, or vector B is like this. Basically what I want to say, if the angle is 90 degrees, or I can say A is perpendicular to B, or theta is 90 degrees, this dot product becomes 0. Do we understand this? Can I have raise hand that we understand this? Both are perpendicular. And this is a very important condition that you must remember. If you ever find two vectors which are perpendicular, their dot product has to be 0. No matter what, no matter how. Perpendicular dot product 0. Remember this. There are some things you should never forget. You should never forget your mom and dad, your family, your school, your teachers, and you should never forget A dot B is 0 if the two vectors are perpendicular. The next point, if they are in the same direction, A and B, let me draw B with red. A and B are in the same direction. If theta is 0, then that means A dot B becomes maximum, and that is plus A into B. The value is maximum. Do we understand this? Plus A into B it becomes, if A and B are in the same direction, it is the maximum value that this can have. Please raise your hand if you understand this. It's simple. Cos of 0 is 1 plus 1 to be very fair. So plus AB. What happens if you have A and B in the opposite direction? Remember, this is going to come a lot. A and B are in the opposite direction. That means if theta is equal to 180 degrees, A dot B becomes minus AB. Since this is a number, you can call them plus as maximum, minus as minimum. You can call them. For me, I don't, what should I say? Identify myself with maximum and minimum. I just look at the number. If it's a big number, it's big. If it's a small number, it is small. If it is 0, it is 0. If it is big number on the negative side, for me, it is still big, because big and small, I always see as distance from origin O. The farther from origin, the bigger it is, whether it's on the left-hand side or is on the right-hand side. But in some questions, we'll be using maximum and minimum. That is why I've used maximum and minimum here. Else for me, if you are farther from 0, you're always maximum. If you're nearer to 0, you're always minimum. This is all about scalar product or dot product that we must know at this point, and this is good enough to clear your JEE mains. There are one or two more points which I would cover, not now because we don't need it now. We'll cover it in the gap between 11th and 12th. I'll be taking your basic maths again, some difficult problems which we'll do as a revision between 11th and 12th. There I will take this dot product in great detail and cover everything that comes right now. And again, I'm using this term for the third time. I'm again using this term for the third time, and I'm doing it only for need to know basis. I'll only do what is required till now. What we have covered in today's class, the first thing was we tried to understand what are constraints. We tried to understand what is a plane constraint or a wedge constraint. We did that. Plane constraint, something on a plane constraint. Wedge constraint, something on a wedge constraint, plane constraint and wedge constraint are same. Then we saw string constraint, two bodies attached by a string. It becomes a string constraint. Then we saw what I call as mixed constraint. We have string. We also have plane constraint. So we call it mixed constraint. Then we moved on and saw the various way in which we can solve string constraint. And I said the way that we are going to solve string constraint will be virtual work. When we talked about work, we started with the dot product. Since we have the dot product, we understood what is a dot product. If two vectors A and B are inclined at an angle theta, dot product is A into B into cos theta. It is known as dot product because it is represented by dot. It is known as scalar product because it gives us a scalar. A dot B is A into B into cos theta. It is a scalar or a number. It can be positive, negative, zero, depending on the direction. If the angle is acute, it is positive. If the angle is obtuse, it is negative. If the angle is 90, then it is definitely zero. If the angle is zero, it becomes positive maximum. If the angle is negative, it becomes negative maximum. That was the deal for today's class. In the next class, we'll be dealing with this in more detail and we'll be trying to find out the string constraint. Till then, I hope to see you because the movie has not ended. Picture bhi khatam nahi hui hai. Constraint, the main picture for constraint will start in the next class. See you all in the next class. Tomorrow is the exam. Motion in 2D will be the topic and we will deal with it in the exam. Wishing you all the best. See you tomorrow. Take care.